Okay, now we're going to do a drawing with the Graphitint pencils. These are a mix of graphite pencils with a hint of colour. So when you're using them dry, they're very natural tones. You get some beautiful, really natural hints of colour there. When we add water, we get more of an explosion of colour. So you get a real sort of difference between wet and dry work, but it works together beautifully. So we're going to be using Midnight Black, Meadow, Ocean Blue and Port. Right, so first of all we're going to use the light pale green colour, which is Meadow, and we're going to use that to put in the outline of the fish. So it's a dead simple shape, you don't need to be entirely accurate. We'll start off. There's the top side of the fish, a fin coming out the bottom, that's going to wiggle around a bit. It'll go in centrally, out again, and then that would head back in there. Fish body coming back out. Okay. Very basic fish shape. We'll then add in the fins. So just about halfway back along the body, we'll add in the fin at the top. Vague triangular shape, that can be wiggly on its way back down, and then a small fin at the back, and one directly underneath that fin, lower down, small one part way along, and then one that comes out from behind the gills. Okay, we'll just add some little details in here. Sort of parting where the head and the body meet, a little suggestion of that. We'll also put in where the eye is going to be, so that's around about here. And its cheeks, there we go. It's not going to win any accurate representations of fishes, but we're not going to eat it, so that's fine. Right, so you've got your basic fish shape there, and keeping the same colour, we're going to actually colour in all the fins with this green. So just lightly colouring in. You can see the beautiful tone of the green and the marks that you make. It's got that, you can tell there's graphite in it, you can tell when you're using them that there's graphite involved with these pencils. All of the fins need a bit of this colour there. The top one and the tail's going to need quite a bit as well. Okay, we're going to pick up the Ocean Blue pencil and add this also to the fins just to create a little bit more shadow. This is going to mix quite nicely with the paler green. When we add water, we'll get a lovely aqua colour coming out here with these two colours. So we're going to add some lines of the tail. And that comes out from the end of the fish, and a few dots on the tail to bring out a little bit of the detail in the fish itself. I'm not going to go over the top with them, but you get the idea. There's quite a lot of texture and some on the fin up the top. Okay, so that's the fins taken care of for the time being. We'll take the Meadow again, and we're going to use that along the top area of the fish. Shading gently again. And around its head, top of its head. start to work in a little bit heavier around the edge of its head there. And then a paler tint of that colour along towards the bottom of the fish as well. Then I'm going to pick up the ocean blue again, and we're going to add some shadow along the bottom of the fish. Okay, and let's pick up the port, and we're going to gently run this along the centre of the fish, just give it a little stripe. Just around its cheeks where there's a bit of red showing as well. And into the bottom fins, I think there's put a bit of red in down there as well. So when that mixes up, we'll get a lovely colour. We also need to add in some detail to the eye whilst we're using these colours. So we'll go around the eye using the ocean blue. I'm going to make a dark line around that. We'll also then put in its pupil. Going to go over the top of that with the port and mix those colours together. And then in the centre of those, we'll go back onto the meadow and just put hints of colour in around the eye itself. Okay. Right, we're going to add a bit more texture to the fish as well. We'll use the ocean blue pencil, and we'll add in a few dots along its back. And we're just giving an indication of its texture. I'm not going to start putting in every single dot because we haven't got the time. It's more about the feel of the fish and showing the texture that it's got. Okay, a bit more dots towards the tail end, and whilst we're there, we'll add in quite a bit more shadow around the end of the fish so you can really see where the tail begins. We're working completely dry at the moment, and what we'll do is get everything ready so that when we come to put the water on, that'll be the final step. So I've missed off a fin there, I'll just go back over that. Add a bit of blue in. Right, okay, we're going to take the black pencil and I'm just going to use this to add in a lot more shadows. So I'm going to run right the way along the bottom of the fish. That's going to be a lot darker. Take the line right out there. And I'm also going to use it to do a bit of cross-hatching along the bottom. The thing you'll notice with these Graphitint pencils when you come to use water is the texture of the pencil marks. If they're laid down quite strongly like this, is they'll actually remain. So we get to keep a bit of the texture of the pencil rather than it all just washing away. So we'll make the most of that and accentuate it. Okay. We'll add a few dots in with the black as well, I think. Just quick squiggles. Particularly on the bottom edge because that's where the fish has more markings. Okay. I think it's time we put some water on. I'm going to take the wet brush and start by taking colour along the top of the fish body into the fin. You can see there how the pencil marks, the strong ones, are just staying there, so that gives a nice bit of texture. We'll do all the fins, let's get that there. We get its tail completely coloured in. There we go. I can go into this whilst we're here, whilst it's still wet. Let's draw the shadow right the way along the fish. So get a nice smooth line there. Just start to blend that out up the body of the fish. Take the red line out there and then work around the other parts of its body. So we've got into its head area. There we go, we're getting some nice red marks there around its head. We'll take colour, there we go, beautiful green coming out on its head there. We have to darken that off a little, I think. And then go into the colour on the eye. So what we'll do is wait for that to dry a bit and then we can work back over the top. So now it's dried off, I'm going to add a bit more red detail to the top of the head up here, just to give it a bit more shadow, but as the red mixes with the green we'll get a nice brown tinge up there. I'm actually going to carry that along the start of the body as well. So I'm going to work a bit more red here, really get some dark tones there, and I'm going to pick up the blue and mix that in so that when that gets water added, we'll get a bit of purple appearing in that colour. So whilst we've got the blue, I think actually we'll just a little bit of extra around the eye. Swap to the red and do the same again. And we'll take the green up there as well and just go over that whole area with a bit of more green so it gets a lovely deep colour. Okay, I think we'll take the black as well and work around that area around the eye. There we go, he's starting to look a bit more alive. A few little dots on with the black, I think, as well. Okay. Right, let's add a bit more water to the head. Let's see how it's going. I'm going to start off at the tip here. There we go. Got a lovely brown, browny green colour coming through. That's made his eye stand out a bit more. Go for the black around the eye. And then start working into the blue and the red. Yeah, he's really starting to take shape now. Before we go over the rest of the body again, I'm going to add a little bit more shadow along the bottom of the fish. And take the black pencil right the way along the bottom, work in there. I'm going to add some more lines in. I like that effect. A few go in the opposite direction. And then let's add a few more dots about, so we don't forget about his spotty. Right. We'll go along the top a little bit with some dots towards the fin. I think the fin's looking okay as it is actually, so we don't need to do much with that. We'll put a few more lines onto the tail, particularly in the centre there. I'll drag a bit of shadow out along the bottom. Okay, let's put a little bit more red along the centre line. We can wash that out. And then possibly a little bit of green just above it to blend it in slightly. Okay, let's take the water again. We'll start with its tail. Use the black there just to bring in a bit of shadow. And I'll quickly lightly go across the lines of black at the bottom so we keep the texture there. And then bring out the green along the centre of the fish. The red that's blending into that at the top. I'll just finish off by blending out the red. There we go. You've got some supper.